The door to room 307 was locked from the inside. The chain was still fastened. The deadbolt was engaged. The window, a single pane of reinforced glass overlooking the third-floor parking lot, was sealed shut, just as it had been since the hotel's last inspection. Inside, police found a suitcase, neatly packed, a wallet containing $200 in cash and a driver's license, a smartphone, fully charged, sitting face up on the nightstand, a half-empty glass of water on the bathroom sink. They found everything except the guest. The Grandview Hotel sits on the eastern edge of Ashford, a mid-sized city that most people pass through without noticing. It's the kind of place truckers choose for a quick overnight stay, where business travelers sleep off jet lag before heading to their next meeting. 42 rooms spread across 3 floors, clean but unremarkable, safe but forgettable. Built in 1987, the hotel had changed ownership 3 times over the decades. Each owner tried to modernize it. New carpets, fresh paint, updated fixtures, but the bones of the building remain the same. Long hallways with flickering fluorescent lights, thin walls that let you hear your neighbor's television, the faint smell of industrial cleaning products that never quite mask the mustiness of age. On the evening of March 14, 2019, a man checked into room 307. According to the front desk clerk, he arrived just after 9 p.m. He was alone, mid-30s, clean-shaven, wearing a dark jacket and jeans. He didn't speak much, just handed over his ID and credit card, signed the register, and took his key card. His name, according to the registration, was David Kelmer. The clerk, a college student named Eric Paulson, would later tell police that Kelmer seemed normal. Tired maybe, quiet, but nothing unusual, nothing that would suggest what was about to happen. He asked if there was a convenience store nearby, Eric said in his statement. I told him there was a gas station 2 blocks down. He thanked me. That was it. Eric remembered one other detail. When Kelmer signed the register, his hand shook slightly. Not a tremor exactly, more like the hand of someone who had been driving for too long, or someone who was nervous. I didn't think much of it at the time, Eric said. Lots of people are tired when they check in. It's a hotel. That's normal. Security footage from the lobby confirmed Eric's account. At 9:14 p.m., David Kelmer walked through the front entrance, pulling a small black suitcase behind him. At 9:17 p.m., he took the elevator to the 3rd floor. At 9:19 p.m., he entered room 307. He was never seen leaving. The next morning, housekeeping knocked on the door of room 307 at 11:30 a.m., standard checkout time. There was no answer. Maria Gonzalez, the housekeeper assigned to the 3rd floor, waited. She knocked again. Still nothing. I thought maybe he was sleeping, Maria said, or maybe he already left and forgot to turn in his key. It happens. She used her master key to open the door. The chain was fastened from the inside. I called out, "Housekeeping." I always do that. No one answered, so I closed the door and went to get the manager. Hotel manager Patricia Delgado accompanied Maria back to room 307. Patricia had worked at the Grandview for 15 years. She had seen her share of strange situations, guests who trashed rooms, couples who fought loudly at 3 a.m., the occasional theft. But she had never seen anything like this. Together, they managed to unlatch the chain by reaching through the narrow gap and using a coat hanger, a trick Patricia had learned years ago. When they finally opened the door fully, they found the room empty. Not just empty, untouched. The bed was made, not slept in. The corners of the sheets were still tucked hospital style, exactly as housekeeping left them the day before. The towels in the bathroom were folded and dry, stacked neatly on the rack. The complimentary coffee packet sat unopened on the counter. The soap was still wrapped in its paper sleeve. It looked exactly as it would have looked the night before, when housekeeping prepared it for a new guest. Except for one thing. On the floor, arranged in a rough circle around the bed, were 5 small objects, evidence markers, not the kind police use at crime scenes, the yellow plastic tents with numbers printed on them. These were handmade, 5 pieces of white paper, each folded into a small triangle, each bearing a single number written in black ink. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Patricia stared at them for a long moment. She didn't touch them. She didn't know why, but something about those folded pieces of paper made her skin crawl. "What are those?" Maria asked. "I don't know," Patricia said quietly, "but we're calling the police." When Detective Laura Hess arrived at the Grandview Hotel that afternoon, she expected a routine case, a guest who skipped out on his bill, maybe a domestic situation, at worst, a theft. What she found was something else entirely. "The first thing that struck me was how clean the room was," Detective Hess said in her official report. "Not just clean, untouched, like no one had ever been there, but his belongings were still in the room, suitcase, wallet, phone, everything." Detective Hess was a 15-year veteran of the Ashford Police Department. She had worked homicides, missing persons, cold cases. She prided herself on staying calm, on seeing patterns where others saw chaos. But standing in room 307, she felt something she rarely experienced on the job: unease. Detective Hess and her partner, Officer Marcus Chen, began documenting the scene. They photographed everything: the bed, the bathroom, the window, the suitcase, and, of course, the 5 paper markers. The suitcase sat on the luggage rack, zipped shut. Inside, 3 changes of clothes, toiletries, a paperback novel, The Stranger by Albert Camus, and a laptop computer. The clothes were clean, recently laundered. The toiletries were unopened, still in their travel-sized containers. The laptop was password protected. The wallet contained David Kelmer's driver's license, issued in Ohio, along with several credit cards, a library card, and $212 in cash. There were no photos, no receipts, nothing personal, no business cards, no loyalty cards, no ticket stubs, just the essentials. The smartphone was an iPhone, locked with a passcode. Forensic analysts would later extract its contents, but that would take days. What concerned Detective Hess most were the paper markers. "They were placed deliberately," she said. "Not randomly. There was a pattern. Marker 1 sat near the foot of the bed on the left side. Marker 2 was near the headboard on the right. Marker 3 was positioned under the window. Marker 4 was in the bathroom on the floor next to the toilet. Marker 5 was inside the closet on the top shelf. When connected, the 5 points formed an irregular pentagon, a 5-sided shape with no right angles. I've seen a lot of strange things in this job," Detective Hess said, "but nothing like that." Officer Chen crouched down next to Marker 1. He didn't touch it, but he leaned in close. "It's just paper," he said. "Regular printer paper, folded into a triangle. The number is handwritten, black ballpoint pen." "Why would someone do this?" Detective Hess asked aloud. "Maybe he was planning something," Chen suggested. "Some kind of art project or a prank." Then where is he? Chen had no answer. Security footage from the hotel provided more questions than answers. At 9:19 p.m., David Kelmer entered room 307. The camera in the third-floor hallway captured him unlocking the door with his keycard and stepping inside. The door closed behind him. For the next 14 hours, the camera recorded nothing. No one entered, no one left. At 11:32 a.m., the camera showed Maria Gonzalez approaching the door, knocking, and then leaving to fetch the manager. At 11:41 a.m., Maria and Patricia returned. They opened the door. The footage was clear, uninterrupted, time-stamped. There was no technical malfunction, no gaps in the recording, no signs of tampering. David Kelmer did not leave room 307. "We checked every possible exit," Officer Chen said. "The window was sealed, had been for years, according to maintenance records. The lock hadn't been tampered with. The air vent was too small for a person to fit through. There was no second door, no hidden passage. It's a standard hotel room." Detective Hess requested footage from every camera in the building: lobby, elevators, stairwells, parking lot, loading dock, emergency exits. David Kelmer appeared in none of them after 9:19 p.m. He had vanished. The maintenance supervisor, a man named Tom Briggs, confirmed that room 307 had no structural anomalies. "It's just a room," he said. "Same layout as every other room on that floor. Nothing special about it." But when pressed, Tom admitted something. "There was one thing," he said. "A few years back, a guest complained about noises. Said it sounded like someone was scratching at the walls. We checked. Didn't find anything. Figured it was just pipes." "Did other guests complain?" Detective Hess asked. "Not that I remember," Tom said. "But we don't keep records of stuff like that." Background checks on David Kelmer revealed more inconsistencies. According to his Ohio driver's license, he lived in Columbus. But when police contacted the address listed, they found an apartment building that had been demolished 2 years earlier. The building had been replaced by a parking lot. His credit cards were valid, but they had been issued only 6 months prior. Before that, there was no financial history, no previous credit cards, no loans, no mortgage, no bank accounts, nothing. "It's like he didn't exist before 6 months ago," Detective Hess said during a briefing with her captain. "Or like someone created a fake identity and did a half-decent job of it." His phone record showed minimal activity, a few calls to unknown numbers, some text messages, mostly one-word responses. "Yes? No? On my way." Nothing that revealed where he had been or where he was going. The laptop contained even less: a handful of documents, mostly blank, a few saved websites, news sites, weather forecasts, nothing unusual, no emails, no social media accounts, no browser history beyond the last 2 weeks. "Whoever this guy is," Officer Chen said, "he didn't want to leave a trail." Detective Hess agreed, but that raised another question. Why? Investigators interviewed every guest and staff member who had been at the hotel that night. No one heard anything unusual. No shouts, no struggle, no doors slamming, no footsteps in the hallway. Eric Paulson, the front desk clerk, insisted that Kelmer had seemed perfectly normal. He didn't look scared or nervous. He just looked tired, like he'd been on the road a long time. Maria Gonzalez, the housekeeper, confirmed that when she entered the room, it looked exactly as it should have, except for the markers on the floor. "I didn't touch them," she said. "I knew right away something was wrong." The guest in room 305, directly next door, was a traveling salesman named Greg Morris. He reported hearing nothing. "I went to bed around 10, he said. "Didn't hear a thing all night. I'm a heavy sleeper, though. Could have been a party next door and I wouldn't have noticed." The guest in room 309 on the other side was a woman named Linda Cho. She said the same. "I was watching TV until midnight. Then I went to sleep. Didn't hear anything." It was as if room 307 had existed in a pocket of silence, or as if whatever happened inside had been too quiet to hear. On the third day of the investigation, forensic analysts unlocked David Kelmer's phone. What they found was a single video file, recorded at 2:47 a.m. on the night of March 14th. The video was 43 seconds long. Detective Hess watched it alone in her office, the door closed, the lights dimmed. It showed the interior of room 307, filmed from a low angle, likely from the bed. The camera was shaky, as if held in an unsteady hand. The room was dark, illuminated only by the faint glow of the bathroom light. For the first 20 seconds, nothing happened. The camera panned slowly across the room, the window, the door, the closet. Then, at the 21-second mark, the camera stopped. It focused on the corner of the room, near the ceiling. At first, Detective Hess couldn't see anything unusual, just shadows, just the corner where the walls met. But then she noticed it. The shadow wasn't static. It was moving, not like something passing in front of a light, not like a trick of perspective. It was moving toward the camera. For the final 22 seconds of the video, the shadow grew larger, darker. It spread across the ceiling like spilled ink, creeping downward along the wall. There was no sound, no breathing, no footsteps, just the faint hum of the hotel's ventilation system. And then the video ended. The screen went black. Detective Hess sat in silence for a long time. Then she played the video again, and again. Each time she saw the same thing, the shadow, moving, growing. She called Officer Chen into her office. "Watch this," she said. Chen watched. When it ended, he looked at her. "What the hell is that?" "I don't know," Detective Hess said. "But whatever it is, David Kelmer saw it too. And then he vanished." 3 weeks after David Kelmer vanished from room 307, Detective Hess received a call from a colleague in Toledo, Ohio. A man matching Kelmer's description had been found walking along State Route 2, disoriented and unable to speak. He had no identification, no wallet, no phone. He was wearing the same clothes he had been wearing the night he checked into the hotel, a dark jacket and jeans, but they were filthy, covered in dirt and what looked like ash. When asked his name, he didn't respond, but his fingerprints matched. It was David Kelmer. Detective Hess traveled to Toledo to interview him. He was being held at a psychiatric facility for observation. When she entered the room, Kelmer was sitting on the edge of a hospital bed, staring at the wall. His hands were folded in his lap. He didn't blink. "Mr. Kelmer," she said, "do you remember me? I'm Detective Laura Hess. I've been looking for you." He didn't look at her. "Do you remember checking into the Grandview Hotel on March 14th? Silence. "Do you remember room 307? At the mention of the room number, Kelmer's head turned slowly toward her. His eyes were wide, unfocused, like he was looking at something far away. "It wasn't a room," he said quietly. Detective Hess leaned forward. "What do you mean?" "It wasn't a room," he repeated. "It was a door." "A door to where?" Kelmer's hands began to shake. "I don't know, but something came through." What came through? He didn't answer. He just kept staring at her, his expression blank. And then he said something that Detective Hess would never forget. I left the marker so someone would know where it happened. 5 points, 5 ways in, but only 1 way out. What do you mean 5 ways in? Kelma smiled. It wasn't a happy smile. It was the smile of someone who had seen something they wished they hadn't. You'll see, he said. David Kelmer was released from the psychiatric facility 2 months later. He returned to Ohio, though he never reclaimed his belongings from the Grandview Hotel. Detective Hess tried to follow up with him several times, but he never answered her calls. Eventually, she stopped trying. Detective Hess closed the case. Officially, it was classified as a mental health episode. A man experiencing a breakdown, leaving his room in a state of confusion, wandering until he was found. But Detective Hess never fully believed that, because 3 weeks after Kelmer was released, another guest checked into the Grandview Hotel, room 307. His name was Michael Torres. He was a pharmaceutical sales rep passing through Ashford on his way to a conference in Chicago. He checked in at 10 p.m. He seemed normal, friendly even. And the next morning, housekeeping found the room empty, the bed untouched, the door locked from the inside, and on the floor, arranged in a circle, were 5 paper markers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The Grandview Hotel removed room 307 from its booking system shortly after the second disappearance. Officially, the room is undergoing renovation. It's been 7 years. The renovation has never been completed. If you visit Ashford today, you can still see the Grandview Hotel from the highway. 42 rooms, 3 floors. But if you count the windows from the outside, you'll notice something strange. There are only 41 rooms. Room 307 doesn't exist. Or maybe it exists somewhere else,